Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today we'll be reacting to how do we decipher forgotten languages. KhAnubis, a very interesting channel. We've already watched one of his videos. We'll continue to watch his videos. It's going to be an interesting one because, deciphering foreign languages is not as simple as just going to Duolingo anymore. The Rosetta Stone was an interesting one to kind of decipher the hieroglyphics, something that we really did not really have a key to. I think it was Nubian, Egyptian, and Latin, I believe, and those three languages intertwined with the Rosetta Stone. So let's see what he's got to say. Appreciate you being here. Hit that subscribe button. Let's learn together.
Let's say you're traveling throughout a land filled with ancient ruins. When you stop to look at one, you decide to go in and explore one of these ruins, and in there you find something interesting, an inscription of some sort.
If that's real, that's crazy.
Naturally, you really want to know what this means, but even though it looks an awful lot like writing, you don't know what it says, and you don't even recognize the script it's written in. What do you do now? Writing is arguably one of humanity's most important inventions.
Oh yeah.
Even if you have the metaphorical memory of an elephant, writing allows ideas to be stored and passed down to readers days, months, years, and even millennia into the future. But there's a catch with writing. Those future people need to still be able to read the symbols you wrote in the first place. Countless geopolitical forces cause languages to shift, mutate, change writing systems, and die off. And as a result, many of the world's writing systems have been simply forgotten and have become unreadable to modern eyes.
So sad.
However, some of these scripts have been deciphered and demystified and are now readable once again. So how do you make an old forgotten script readable again if the last person who knew how to read it is long gone? Made possible with the support of Skillshare. Let's go back to our intrepid explorer. Let's say they have a bit of a thing for languages and decides to learn a little bit more about these markings, writing down what they look like and rushing back, excited to try to find out more about this lost
Or taking
script.
a picture.
But it's not quite that simple. And unbeknownst to our determined researcher, this project would in fact end up taking more than 300 years to complete.
Wait, what?
Deciphering a long-forgotten writing system, especially if you don't have any big rocks nearby providing translation.
Rosetta Stone, which is in the British Museum. If you're in London, you have to go see the Rosetta Stone. You have to. It's free.
Can be extremely hard, and in some cases likely even impossible. The Rongo script of Easter Island, for instance, is famous for having never been deciphered.
I didn't know that. Easter Island's a very interesting case.
And probably won't be for quite some time due to a variety of factors.
Yep.
But it is still possible to transliterate.
They all died.
Scripts. Cuneiform, for example, the oldest writing system in the world, has been successfully deciphered through a long and laborious process. So what we should really be asking is, what separates the Rongo scripts of the world from the cuneiform scripts of our world? Or in other words, instead of asking how you decipher a script, maybe ask if a script is decipherable in the first place.
They all are.
Perhaps the story of how cuneiform was deciphered can help us out here. Long ago, like as long ago as a written story can realistically go, cuneiform was likely the first form of writing ever used by humans, used from the end of the Copper Age to fading from use in around the 1st century AD.
That's an insane thing. I did not think that, cuneiform makes more sense in the ancient times, but this is 100 AD. Romans have already, they're in Britain at this point. The world has seen so many new languages. I didn't imagine that they still use cuneiform in this time period. That's crazy.
Earning its title as perhaps the longest used writing system in human history, having been used for over 3,300 years. And yet afterwards, it was completely forgotten for nearly 2 millennia.
Wow.
A less long time ago, European and Arab travelers in the 17th and 18th centuries frequently passed through the ancient city of Persepolis, where they noticed some strange inscriptions in the clay tablets, all made of these different wedge shapes, or cuneiforms.
It took them that long to find it?
17th century travelers Antonio de Juvea and Sir Thomas Herbert, although they didn't attempt to decipher the scripts, did discern that the script was written from left to right and represented words and syllables rather than individual sounds. Writing systems don't just vary in how they represent sounds or what sounds they represent at all, but also in how they're structured.
That's got to be like Thai or something right there. Sri Lankan.
I've already talked about this in past videos, so I won't take too long, but while we might call it deciphering, deciphering a writing system isn't like decrypting some sort of code, where this means A, this means B, and this means C, because a separate writing system might not have an equivalent to C, or maybe it's an abjad that doesn't write vowels at all, or maybe it's logographic like Chinese, and therefore what's being written actually has little relation to what's being spoken out loud. One trick you can use to determine what kind of a script it is, though, is to simply count how many unique characters you see. If it only has a handful, it's probably an abjad. If there are a few more, it's probably an alphabet. Add some more and it could be a syllabary. And if
I've never heard these words before, and those are really cool words to learn. We gotta back up and I want to relearn it.
Count how many unique characters you see. If it only has a handful, it's probably an abjad.
I gotta turn on closed captions, guys. An abjad. An abjad. Okay. Okay, abjad.
If there are a few more, it's probably an alphabet.
Okay.
Add some more and it could be a syllabary.
A syllabary. Okay. Interesting.
And if it has hundreds or even thousands of unique characters, it's most likely a logography.
Logography. That makes more sense. Like logos. Is that why we call them logos?
There are some problems with this method though. For one, what do you count as a unique character? Are these two glyphs two different characters, or the same character written in two different ways?
Oh.
So this trick might be a good start in some cases, but don't expect it to get you too far. Context and quantity, however, also matter. It doesn't help much if you just have a couple random inscriptions lying around, as is the case with Rongo Rongo, of which we only have a few random inscriptions, making it extremely hard to decipher with any sort of context. When deciphering an unknown script, you kind of need as much help as you can get. And one thing that might help is to know what you're looking at. For instance, a tombstone might have a name, or a set of dates, or an epitaph, or a warning to passers-by, but probably not much else. For instance, an ancient Egyptian tomb might not have a recipe for corn dogs written on it, though this all still depends on how the culture in question treated death and how important the dead person was. Back to our story, in 1767, KhAnubis brought copies of the inscriptions he found back with him to Europe, where he identified 3 different versions of cuneiform: Old Persian, Babylonian, and Elamite, finding Old Persian to be the easiest. He identified 42 different symbols in the script, suggesting that it was likely alphabetic in some form. In 1798, Olaf Gerhard Tuxen studied Niebuhr's findings, noting that this slanted wedge must have been a sort of divider between words, and also noted this frequently recurring series of 7 characters. Where he fell short, however, was in attributing the inscriptions to the kings of the Parthian Empire, instead of the earlier Achaemenid Empire, as Bishop Friedrich Münter posited, which is a historical difference of about 500
Is it Achaemenid or Achaemenid?
years. Basically, if there were names written on those inscriptions, he was just thinking of the wrong names. Improving on Tuxen's work, Münter, noticing how the word often appeared at the beginning of a sentence and how little it changed despite how often it appeared, suggested that it must have been an honorific of some kind referring to a king, or a king of kings. He guessed that the word would have been pronounced something like Kshayathya, a word relating to words in other languages, such as the Sanskrit kshatra, meaning power or command, as in the Hindu ruler caste known as the Kshatriya. I'm sorry.
That's a crazy way that they even had a guess like this.
It's been several years and I still get a kick out of seeing words and languages related to each other in this way. Georg Friedrich Gotzofens also noted that the full sequence, if later inscriptions were to be trusted, should go king's name plus great king, king of kings, plus the king's father. Noting that one of the king's fathers did not himself have the title king, Glotzofen correctly guessed that this one sentence would have referred to King Darius I and his non-king father Hystaspes. Daryavush and his father Vishtaspa. As such, he was able to translate this sentence as Darius, the great king, king of kings, king of countries, son of Hystaspes, and Achaemenian, who built this palace.
That's insane.
He also found names like Xerxes and Cyrus and Cambyses, all without actually knowing the Persian language himself.
Wow.
With more contributions from various other French and German
how confident are we in this? This just feels so left field.
Philologists,
But there's
Old Persian
correlation,
cuneiform
yeah.
had been deciphered, revealing itself to be a semi-syllabary, though the academic community was at first skeptical of Goldsephen's findings. However, in 1823, the bilingual KhAnubis vase, which had been dedicated to Xerxes I in both Old Persian cuneiform and the also recently deciphered Egyptian hieroglyphs, gave them the chance to confirm what Goldsephen had essentially found through guesswork.
Nubian and Latin deciphered hieroglyphs, and we use hieroglyphs as a bridge to that's really cool. That's really cool.
Unsurprisingly, these findings also helped decipher Elamite and Akkadian cuneiform.
See? Isn't that crazy?
Despite these languages using the script as a syllabary or a logography.
And you could possibly, if depending on findings, we could branch this further. Use cuneiform to discover even more ancient languages.
Or even both at the same time, largely with help from the trilingual Bachstun inscription. Despite how hard it was to gather enough samples of cuneiform, with some tablets having been fragmented and spread across multiple continents, or having been dug up improperly or illegally so that they couldn't be properly cataloged, deciphering the different forms of cuneiform has given us a treasure trove of knowledge of some of our earliest civilizations, including a 4,500-year-old version of the biblical flood myth, describing Noah as a Sumerian named Utnapishtim. Now, owing to their extremely long history and widespread use across Mesopotamia, even
Mesopotamia was mentioned, as you see above me and to my right. It's Mesopotamia.
Going into modern-day Turkey and Iran, cuneiform inscriptions are not exactly all that rare to come by, especially in context, which is sadly not exactly a luxury we have with all undeciphered scripts. So, what other undeciphered scripts are still out there waiting to be deciphered?
The Easter Island one.
Well, there's Vinca or Old European, the Indus or Harappa script, Proto-Elamite, Old Elamite, Linear A, the Phaistos disc, the Voynich manuscript, the Rohan's Codex, and of course Rongo Rongo. But just do be advised that not all these writing systems will be so friendly to being deciphered. Wow, this video is like the most lazily made piece of crap I've ever seen. Seriously, even I could have made a better video than this. Then do it.
We're gonna talk about Skillshare. Yep, that's the video, guys. This is exciting. Just learning a little bit more about this. Not sure what you guys feel about it, but I'm just excited to learn more about the historical, footprints, or fingerprints, whatever you want to call it. That's all I gotta say. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a video recommendation if you have one. Subscribe if you haven't already. Peace out. Bye-bye.